Hi, I'm Kresse, and this is my story. Well, it was in the summer of 1969, right at the end of June, that went into basic training. It was pretty neat. During basic training, while we're brushing our shoes, we saw Neil Armstrong walking on the moon, and it was a great moment for the United States, and that was kind of a turning point in where our nation was going. Made it through boot camp. It was a very sobering experience when I woke up the first morning and realized that I couldn't go home again, that I had made a commitment and there wasn't anything I could do to get out of it. So I decided, well, it's time to grow up. And the boot camp experience, and after that, I graduated with honors, so I was really proud. My parents were able to come down and watch the graduation, and from that point on, I felt like I had kind of made a statement about my manhood, that the decisions I make now are my responsibility. Me and one of my best friends, Steve Kinsey from Sunnyside, we were together this whole time, and we had Liberty one night after we had graduated from boot camp and were waiting for motor transport school, and we went into Oceanside, California, where that was the closest place you could go for Liberty on the weekend. And we were walking around the streets talking about, oh, I wonder if we could meet somebody. And along come two girls and a guy and say, hey, do you guys want to go to a party? I said, yeah, what kind of party? And they said, well, come on and find out. And so we went to this kind of like a community hall, and we went in and we saw these double doors opened up with balloons and refreshments and everything. And we thought, hey, this might be fun. So we went in through the other double doors, and it was the Campus Crusade for Christ. They were trying to reach out to the servicemen at that time. It was the beginning of the 70s, well, 1969, just before. There was quite a revival during that time. And the person speaking, I don't remember his name, but I remember when he reached the point and asked the question, do you want your life to be changed from this moment on? If you do, then come forward. And I just felt the prompting to get up and go forward. And at first, the first week, 2 weeks, I didn't really know what was going to happen. But this peace, or this happiness came over me. I remember sitting with Steve in the dry storage for the mess hall and singing. I didn't know any Christian songs, so I was singing Kumbaya and just silly songs, but it was my attempt to try and be spiritual and try and express the feelings that I was having. So from that point on, I was just like, I couldn't spend enough time reading. I know during my 2 years in the service, I went through the New Testament at least 5 times. I know the point when it really hit me was when I went home on leave after my infantry training, and before I was going to go back to motor transport school. And I was visiting my friends in Ellensburg, and I was just touching bases with everybody and letting them know what was happening. And one of my friends from high school, a young lady that I had known and dated, I went to visit her because I knew she was at the Ellensburg campus. That's where my best friend, Bonnie Pearson, and his wife, just got married. They were on campus. Anyway, I went to visit her with some friends. They were in dorms, and so he went to visit somebody, and I went to visit my friend. And Anyway, when I visited her and I shared, and she broke down crying, and I wanted to know what was wrong, and she said that she had just recently she'd been raped by one of her friends who was on the wrestling squad in college, and she was just didn't know what to do because of his position on the squad. How there was just a lot of trauma with it, and she shared that. I was able to let her know Christ, all things come for the good. I believe. She turned to joy. She accepted it. She was able to forgive him. She was able to reach a point where she could go on and put it behind her. So we hugged, shared with her how happy I was that she was able to let it go. And before I left, she said, "God bless you." And on my way back to my friend's dorms, I just felt like I was lifted on wings of eagles, and I could just see into eternity and know that, hey, this is real. That there's nothing phony about this relationship with Jesus. That it's forever. And after that, I spent the rest of my leave spending time saying hi, goodbye to family and everything. Went back to Camp Pendleton, went to motor transport school, and then went to Vietnam and was stationed north of Da Nang at an artillery base there. And it was just amazing how, you fly in to Da Nang and there's just kind of like the atmosphere, the humidity and everything was just like this is like no place I've ever been. And you could hear artillery rounds and stuff in the background. And that first night, there's guys that they'd hear the whistle of mortars diving underneath their beds, going out to the bunkers. And I just felt a peace that I couldn't understand. Well, I could understand because what do I have to fear? And I remember sharing Jesus while I was on guard duty at night with the guys I was in the bunkers with. So I came back home and my life had been transformed, changed. I've never known a time that God hasn't been watching out for me and my family.